it was quite the adventure finding a spot to park and film. That could have been a whole nother video. I should have filmed it. It was funny. But it was fun. It was fun just cruising around. So, Mando, Season 2, Episode 4, also known as Chapter 12. It was The Siege. 3.5 pages. I took notes. I don't want to have to like read off this like it's some scripted show, but just notes, just in case I need it, just in case I get lost. It was a really awesome episode. I loved it. It might be my favorite one yet, like out of the whole series, not just the season. It was really good. It was a lot of fun because it reminded me of. Well, I'll get into it. But either way, it starts out with Mando and the child on the Razor Crest because it picks up where it left off. The ship was repaired organically, just like put together with what they could like find through scraps. And the child is in like a little area, like a little space where only he could fit. Mando can't get in. Oh yeah, spoiler. I keep forgetting to mention it. It's spoiler review. But yeah, like the child has 2 wires in his hands, a blue and a red, and Mando wants the child to put the red one where the blue one was. And the child, by the way, the child is trying to talk a lot in this video, which I like a lot. I mean, he's not saying words, but it's just a lot of him trying to make out words, him trying to talk. And he's getting confused with the wires, and he puts the blue one back instead of putting the red where the blue went. And then Mando's like, no. And so he takes him out, and he's like, just don't touch them together. And then the child touches them together, and he gets shocked. But it's not bad. He doesn't, like, get injured or anything. Probably because he's Force sensitive. The Force saved him. But then he decides they got to go back to Navarro, where the show started, where Greef and Cara are. So he goes back there for repairs. And the city is, like, completely new, because last we saw at the end of Season 1, it was just tore up from Moff Gideon and the stormtroopers and everything. Just the Imperials took over. But now it's nice in the cantina where he would go to meet Greef and get those missions, those bounties. It's a school now for kids, and the teacher is a protocol droid, which is really cool to see. And just to go back, after he lands, they talk a bit, and then Greef has 2 of his guys repair his ship. He asks them to go there, and as they're walking away, as they're leaving, one of the guys turns and looks at them. When I saw that, I was like, that's suspicious. But yeah, now they go to the school just to get back there, and they leave the child there. Mando's hesitant because where he goes, I go, or where I go, he goes. But he didn't like that, but then Greef is telling him that it's not going to be safe where they're going to go. And it's funny, the child is sitting in the desk watching a kid eat some cookies, and he wants some. He like puts his hand out. The kid says no, and then when the kid's not looking, he uses Force powers to pull it over. You see it moving across the desk. But yeah, they go to Greef's office and just to go over what they're gonna do. And what is his name? What is he? The Mithril, the blue guy that Mando caught as a bounty at the beginning of the very first episode of Season 1. He's there, and he's there as Greef's accountant. But yeah, they have to go on a mission because they know of the base where the Imperials came from that showed up at the end of Season 1. And there's a reactor in there, and they just want to set off the reactor to destroy the base, just so it's an Imperial-free planet. So Greef, Cara, the Mithril, and Mando go there, and they get in and they set off the reactor, and they think that's it. Oh yeah, and while it's going on, oh yeah, that's what I want to bring up. That's why it brings up some like old stuff. They get in, shoot some stormtroopers, then they set off the reactor, then they run through like the corridors, just like shooting some more troopers. And that reminded me of this game I loved growing up. It's a game series. It's the Dark Forces Jedi Knight series. First it started with Dark Forces, then a sequel called Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2, and then there was an expansion called Mysteries of the Sith. Jedi Knight Mysteries of the Sith, which is really cool. And then a direct sequel to Jedi Knight called Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast. And then another one that came after called Jedi Academy. And all the games you play as Kyle Katarn, which is a cool character. But yeah, but not in Jedi Academy, because it's a sequel, but kind of like a spin-off, because you create your own Jedi apprentice character instructed by Kyle Katarn and Luke. But yeah, in the first one, Kyle Katarn isn't a Jedi. He's just like a mercenary. He's just a gun for hire for the rebels. And in that game, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's no longer canon, obviously, because it came out in the mid '90s and ran until the mid 2000s. But yeah, in the first level of Dark Forces, you steal the Death Star plans. But yeah, in that game, the main threat are these dark troopers, which are like these robot exoskeleton stormtroopers. They're like these dark grayish looking robots, which is cool. But yeah, after they do some shooting, they shoot some like Imperial Security guys, and before they kill them, the security guards start shooting the control panel where they're at, because they want to get rid of the evidence, but they don't destroy it enough to get rid of it. And they find a hologram message from the scientist. I'm doing pretty good. What was his name? I wrote it down. Pershing. Yeah, the guy who had the glasses. There's a hologram message from him, and he's just talking about how... Let's see. It kind of starts off as if they get into the middle of the message, because it doesn't feel like the beginning of a message. But you basically hear him start by saying, the body rejected the blood. Highly doubt we'll find a donor with a high M count, which M is clearly midichlorians, which we heard about in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And he says that they recommend stopping all experimentation, and he fears the volunteer will have the same fate with the transfusion. And they exhausted the supply of blood, which came from the child, because it was a small amount. The child was small. So that's what they were doing, taking his blood in Season 1 when Mando went to rescue the child after dropping them off to the Imperials. And he's saying they need access to the donor if the experiments are to resume. And then it ends with him saying Moff Gideon. So we all knew Moff Gideon didn't die, but Mando did, because obviously the crash took place yards or miles away from where they were at the end of Season 8. And then some more pew pew style going on, just running. They split up. Mando goes off because he wants to go get the child before anything happens, so he splits off from the group, and they all just go their separate ways, and they're running through hallways like Dark Forces again, just shooting stormtroopers. And then Mando rockets off. He goes to where the reactor is and just rockets out of the roof because it's open. And then Cara, Greef, and Mithril, they jump in a troop transport and then fly down, and then they're getting chased by scout troopers, which they destroy, and then eventually TIE fighters. But there's a turret on top of the troop transport that Greef was using to kill the scout troopers. But after the explosion of the last trooper, it destroyed the turret, so they couldn't kill these or destroy these TIE fighters that were after them, and they're called Outland TIE fighters. They're the ones whose wings go like when they land. And then all of a sudden, one of them explodes in front of them, and then bam, Razor Crest, Mando, he's there, and then he destroys the two remaining TIE fighters. And then it's funny, you could see he tells the child, hold on. Child's eating the cookies that he took from the kid. And then he puts his arms up in the air like it's a roller coaster ride. He's having a good time, making baby noises again. And then once he destroys them all, and they're just whoosh, coasting, the baby spits upon himself. And it's green, obviously, because the cookies were green, like an aqua color. And then they land, or Greef, Cara, and Mithril get back to the city, and then Greef asks him to come back, thank him for the help, pay him. He's like, nah. He's like, the work you guys did on my ship is payment enough. And he's like, at least a drink. He's like, oh, I gotta get back, because he has to pick up. You got to pick up where he left off with his mission because he was going to go look for Ahsoka, and then screen wipe or whatever you want to call it, transition to a big Star Destroyer. It was like a New Hope style. You see it from the top, from behind, just moving, which was really cool. It was like just like a New Hope with Darth Vader's Star Destroyer. And then you see Moff Gideon. Well, not Moff Gideon yet, but you see an Imperial. What do I call them? My Star Wars knowledge. Imperial officer, the guys that wear the suits. It was she was listening to a message, a hologram message. It was the guy that I was talking about earlier who turned around and looked at them that looked suspicious, and he's telling them that because he was one of the people that worked on the ship, the repair it, he put a tracker in there in the Razor Crest so Moff Gideon can find them because he knows that he still has the child. And then the Imperial officer, she goes to Gideon and tells them that the tracker was added to it. And then she leaves, and then Moff Gideon looks at... I spoiled it. What I was talking about with Dark Forces, about the Dark Troopers that are like exoskeleton, like robot troopers. You see a bunch of those that look like it. So I think they're bringing in more Legends, more pre-Disney Expanded Universe stuff, which is cool, because I love the Dark Forces Jedi Knight series. But yeah, there's these dark-looking trooper exoskeleton droid looking things, so we'll see. That'll be cool if they bring it in, because that will be awesome. I love that they're bringing in little elements. I'm glad, because everybody was scared they would just completely forget about Legends, and I'm glad they didn't, because I grew up on that stuff, whether it was games, books, just comic books, everything I read online. I was so into the Expanded Universe growing up. So it's cool because I've read so much. I have such a vast knowledge of the Expanded Universe. Unfortunately, my knowledge of the current canon isn't as much. I haven't read that many books so far. So it's cool that they're just tying everything in, the Legends, pre-Disney Expanded Universe with the current canon. So that's awesome. But we'll see. We'll see what happens if they end up being like that. They may have a different name, but you'll definitely know that they drew from that. So that's exciting. And that's it. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, comment. Hi, my name is Ryan. No spaces. This was a fun video. This is probably the longest of the Mandalorian spoiler reviews. Well, it's at the end of the video. It doesn't matter. If you watched it, you already know it's spoiler. But yeah, have a great rest of the day. Enjoy yourself. Stay positive. Stay safe. Love life. Peace.